Hi, and welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast in association with CarWow, the online car-changing destination. Together, we share tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your department, dealership, or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett, or some of you might already know me as Skippy. Firstly, I just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. Today, I want to tell you about the 3 deal killers that we hear all the time in car dealerships. What do you think they are? What jeopardizes a deal more than anything else in a sales process? Well, actually, I think we have some data to be able to help you with that and tell you exactly what it is. It's part of our SimCheck process. You see, part of symcotraining, we train people in a physical environment. We have our sales fitness program when we drip feed the knowledge over 90 days. And that's why we get so much retention of the sales process. But what we do is we practice what we preach. We inspect what we expect. And we actually do that through a SimCheck. Now, SimCheck comes from almost the airline industry. You see, in the airline industry, every 6 months, a pilot has to go into a simulator to prove they know how to fly the plane properly, okay? And in that simulator check, I've never been in one, okay? But my son's a pilot and he tells me that half the time they're flying on one engine and they're failing this system, that system, and they practice things again and again and again. So it becomes natural if they're ever in that situation. Makes sense. But you see, here's the difference. In the airline world, if they get it wrong, people die. In our world, if we get it wrong, we just don't retain enough gross profit, or we don't sell a value-added product, or we just don't sell people that car. So what we do is, after people have been through our full program, once every 6 months with our clients, we'll say, great, come and sell us a car from start to finish. Kind of sounds like a mystery shop, but it's not, it's different. See, a mystery shop, if we're brutally honest, the manufacturer will come out, do a mystery shop to try and catch us out sometimes. Your report comes back through. If it's 100%, you throw the report in the bottom drawer and you don't even bother about it. If it's less than 100%, you go back through the mystery shop to see what you can appeal on, because points mean prizes. And is it actually used as a training tool? Maybe, maybe not. So what we do is we say to the salesperson, great, sell us a car from start to finish. From the digital inquiry, where the customer's journey starts nowadays, the telephone inquiry going from email to telephone, okay, and then the whole sales process from start to finish. But what we do is when they're selling us a car, we'll keep doing a timeout. Hey, listen, at the meet and greet, have you built rapport? Okay, did you overcome the objection properly where the customer just said, I just want to know what my car's worth, okay, just what's your best price on that car right now? Here's another way you can deal with it. Maybe try this one. Maybe try that one. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. So they take a while, to be fair. Okay. We record it. At the end of it, we sit down and we go through the recording with the salesperson, their sales manager, or head of business. Okay. Sometimes the business manager or showroom controller. And it always amazes me. They're so valuable because what a sales manager, what a business manager, a head of business expects their salespeople to do, is so often they're not doing it. But what's even more important, so often a salesperson thinks they have done something, but when we go back and show them the mirror, actually, they haven't done it really as effectively as they thought they could. And so we have lots of data where salespeople go through the whole sales process. We obviously listen to a lot of calls, and we critique and coach on the calls, and also email inquiries. So we know what ends up in a deal in the real world and what doesn't. Okay, so we have so much data from so many different places around the world, to be fair. And I want to talk about the 3 things that comes up time and time again, okay? And number 1 is the trial close question. How effectively is your salesperson trial closing, okay? In fact, so many salespeople think, oh, yeah, I have trial closed. But when we go back and show them the mirror, let them listen to what they've actually said, actually, they haven't. So I want to explore that, the trial close question. Do you need to do a trial close question? Actually, is it, I'm going to passe now, okay? Why don't you just ask for the business at the end of a deal, okay? Well, let's explore that. The purpose of a trial close question or a test close or a pre-close, call it what you want, okay, I think is test commitment from the customer. And we want to look for commitment from the customer that the car's right without using the word commitment, because commitment scares people, okay? And what we want to try and do is separate the car from the money. And the process we're looking for is there's 3 sales in any sale. We go sell ourselves first, the product second, and then the numbers and the deal, okay? If you're going to go and buy, I don't know, a suit, if we went in to go and buy the suit and the suit salesperson said, oh, hold on for a second, it's close to closing time, you better come back next week. If they hadn't sold themselves well enough, we might go and find another suit retailer. You then go to sell the product, okay? If all they had was pink and purple polka dot suits and all just an extra large, would it really matter how cheap they are? Not really, okay? And then you go sell the deal, the numbers after the business. So for me, the trial close question is making sure we sold the product. Because you know what? Unless that car, that truck, that pickup is right for the customer, does it really matter how cheap it is? Okay. And here's the way I want you to look at it. We as humans, okay, if we're going to ask someone to marry us, traditionally what we would do is we'd get down on one knee and ask some romantic gesture. It might be on a lovely beach somewhere or a restaurant or just privately, you and your partner, okay? And someone's going to sit down and say, will you marry me? And they're going to say, yes, I love you. But from the proposal to the wedding, there's a bit of time for all parties to get used to it. Now, that might be 3 years if you're saving up money for your perfect wedding. It might be 3 hours if you're in Las Vegas. It might be 3 months if your partner's pregnant. But that gives you, your partner, and everyone, the family's time to get used to it. And I've got to tell you, most of the time on the wedding day, it's a foregone conclusion. Unless someone has a serious case of cold feet. But most of the time, it's going to happen, right? Can you imagine if we didn't do that? Imagine if you said to your partner, hey, put a nice suit on, put a nice dress on. I've got a surprise for you. What are we doing? Oh, don't worry. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. You drive down to the local church. Okay. What are we doing here? Oh, no, I've got a surprise. It's going to be good. You walk into the church. All of your partner's family sitting on one side. Your family sitting on the other side. What are we doing here? Oh, no, it's going to be great. You walk up to the front. The priest or the vicar or the registrar or the Jedi, whoever's marrying you is up there, okay? And the priest turns around and says, Emma, do you take Simon to be your lawful wedded husband? What the fuck is happening here? It might be too much, too soon. Even though they love you to bits, it might be too much, too soon. So a pre-close, a test close, a trial close is just making sure you're on track. Okay. And that's what we want to do. Now, again, lots of salespeople say, oh, yeah, I have trial close. I definitely have. Let me give you a trial close question that I had this week on one of our sim checks. And the salesperson thought he actually had trial closed. And to be fair, he had. But actually, it was so wishy-washy to start with. It was do you think if we could kind of maybe get the figures sort of somewhere where you were hoping to be, do you think this might be the car that we could do a deal on? Now, he's kind of separating the car from the money, but it was so wishy-washy to start with, okay? And also at the end, he used the word deal. So it went so wishy-washy, and then it was almost too firm, and it's going to scare people, okay? What we've got to do is, let's go back to the priest analogy, okay? Could you imagine you walk up to the front of the church and again, the priest, the vicar, the registrar, whoever's marrying you is up there. And they wishy-washy the response. Simon, do you think you might possibly want to make the rest of your life or spend the rest of your life with possibly Emma? I do. Would I be married? No. This is one of those yes or no days. There's no wishy-washy to this. Okay. Also, the flip side of it is, okay, can you imagine if the priest or the vicar, okay, said, Simon, do you take Emma to be your lawful wedded wife? Yeah, sure, why not? Let's give her a run for her money. So well, why not? Let's see what happens. Again, would you be married? No. Okay. It's a firm question from the priest, the registrar, whoever. And actually, it's a firm response. It's a yes or no. Okay. So when you wishy-washy as a salesperson, or your salesperson as wishy-washy, do you think possibly maybe if we can get the figures right? Oh, here's another one I hear all the time. Okay, listen, the car's nice, isn't it? Yeah, yeah, I love it. So should we go and look at the figures? Yeah. Is there any commitment there? No, let's look at the figures. Got nothing to lose. Why not? Okay. Or we hear this one all the time. Okay. So overall, do you like the car? Yeah. Do you like it enough to want to own it? Yeah. So what you're saying is we just got to get the numbers right, and that's the car for you. Yeah, it could be. Definitely one to put on the list. Again, is there any commitment there? No, there's not. Now, listen, on our sales training program, we teach probably about 6 different trial close questions. Okay. I'm not going to give you all of them now. Okay. But I will say there's a few things sales managers, business managers, heads of businesses I want you to look out for. Okay. Is where salespeople, I think, get it wrong. In fact, some of your salespeople might be taught to say, how do you like it? Do you like it enough to want to buy it? Okay. But think about the word buy. Because that almost scare people off at that stage. Yeah, good. You know, people like to own things, but they're not sure if they want to buy it. Or you might have some people saying, hey, listen, apart from the figures, is there anything stopping you want to own this car? No. Actually, let's think that one through. For that to have a positive response, your customer actually has to say no. Right at the time where we're trying to get them into a yes frame of mind. You've heard before on other training, there's lots of little yeses to get a big yes. Okay. Now, listen, lots of trial closes. This is not one of our training courses. Go and have a look at our sales fitness program there. We have it all there. But let's just give you one. Okay. We might start off with a mental ownership question. And listen, if everything stacks up right, is this the car you'd like to be driving the next 2 or 3 years? Okay. Sounds nice and soft, doesn't it? It's designed that way. We like to ask it when they're still driving the car. Okay. If everything stacks up right, is this the car you'd like to be driving the next 2 or 3 years? Because what that does is it starts putting that mental ownership question into people's heads. Oh, in fact, here's another one. We talk lots about the mental ownership on our Road to a Sale training program, and people have to take mental ownership before they take actual ownership. So if we know that people travel to Edinburgh 2 or 3 times a year to see in-laws, we might want to get that mental image in their head. Hey, Mr. or Mrs. Customer, you said you travel to Edinburgh 2 or 3 times a year. Hey, how long does it take you to get to Edinburgh? Hey, when's the next time you're going to Edinburgh? Okay. What takes you to Edinburgh regularly? Whereabouts in Edinburgh do you go to? So mentally in their mind, the customer's driving that new car to Edinburgh, off to see the in-laws. Said I'd never be good enough for her daughter. I'll show her. Okay, and here's my lovely new car there. Now, they only work when customers are driving the car. Again, from our sales sim checks, sorry, we get salespeople try that, but they say, can you see yourself driving this car to Edinburgh? Team, don't say that for 2 reasons. Number one, okay, it's too obvious what you're trying to achieve, okay? Can you see yourself driving this car to London? I know what you're doing. Well, hold on. I know a closed question's coming here. So that's where you'll get it. Maybe, possibly. But also, you haven't got the mental image in your head. Let me ask you a question. Listen to this now. If I said to you, did you enjoy your last holiday? It's just yes, no. You may not have pictured it. But I've said, hey, listen, what was the best part of your last holiday? Have you got a picture of that beach in your mind now, that restaurant, that city break, whatever it is? It forces you to think about it. So again, we hear lots of salespeople, bless them, they try very hard on this and they say, can you see yourself driving this car to London? Okay. But then the trial closer first said, kind of like that one at the moment because it ties in that mental ownership question with your trial close. Hey, listen, if everything stacks up right, is this the car you'd like to be driving the next 2 or 3 years? Oh, also, if your trial close focuses too much on money, if we can get the figures right, if we can get the money right, okay, is this the car you'd like to go ahead with? What are you implying that your figures might not be already? Kind of implies that they might not be right. By using that old-fashioned one that I know I was definitely taught, and lots of us were, you're implying that we're going to start discounting anyway. Okay, now if you're in an agency world, of course, that ain't going to happen anyway. So that's why, hey, listen, if everything stacks up right, is this the car you'd like to be driving for the next 2 or 3 years? Hey, listen, that's just one of 6 or 7 that we talk about. But when people say, maybe, possibly, I definitely one to put on the list, there's no commitment there. Ask the question again, but in a different way. Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, when you say maybe, it sounds like there's something in the back of your mind that you're not 100% sure about. Is there anything about this car you're not sure about? Okay. Hey, is there anything about this car you're not 100% sure about? Well, the mileage is higher than what I hoped. Well, the color wouldn't be my first choice. Well, I wish it had real leather interior now, not the fake leather. Okay. We need to see if that's a deal breaker. Yeah, okay, but the mileage, that's reflected in the price. If I had lower miles on it, we wouldn't be asking 69,995. But if everything else stacks up right, the mileage on this car, that wouldn't stop you wanting to own it, would it? No, not really. Great, sounds like we found the right car for you. Well, the color wouldn't be my first choice. Guys, think it through. If color was a deal breaker, you wouldn't have got to that stage in the process. When they walked out to the car, they'd say, hey, Simon, I got to stop you there. I'd never buy the Kermit the Frog green color. Okay, I just couldn't do that one there. So it might be a negotiation point, okay, especially spec. Oh, I tell you what, I wish it had the full leather interior, not the half leather interior. Yeah, okay, and that's reflected in the price. If it had the full leather interior, it'd be the bling bling model, and we'd have to be asking more for it. But you know, if everything else stacks up right, the lack of that full leather, that wouldn't stop you wanting to own it. And of course, if they say yes, you know what? Guess what? That is, it's time for you to find the car with the full leather, different color, different mileage. Okay. And maybe go back and visit some of the qualification, possibly. But so often it might be just a deal breaker. So, number one thing is that test close, trial close. So many times, sales managers, business managers, sales people, listen to this. You're trying to close a deal on the money, but the customer's not sure if the car's right yet. We haven't closed on the car yet. So that's number one thing. So we want to make sure. Oh, also, they hear this and it's almost too pushy. It's too firm. It's got to be casual, softly, softly. Okay. Too many times we find we're scaring customers off at that stage. Or if you're one of the sales managers say, hey, listen, in my world, I was trained through Pendle. Okay. And, you know, if there's not firm commitment, they don't get a figure from me. No, that's how I do it here. I get that. Hey, listen, I went through that training program as well. Okay. But you know what? Your salespeople are lying to you. Your salespeople know that if they do that real firm trial close question, all too often the customer says, well, you're the first place I've been. I've just started the process. I need to go and look at the X, the Y, the Z first. And they know that that manager won't give me some figures. So they actually turn around and just say, yeah, I have asked the question. Or they soften it so much to make sure they get a yes. Who are we kidding there? Okay. So do me a favor, trial close, number one. Managers, how do you make sure your salesperson has trial closed on a day-to-day basis? Simple. Don't ask, have you trial closed? Turn it around and say, hey, listen, what trial close question did you ask? Yeah, I think they're going to go ahead with it. Great. But hey, listen, what trial close question did you ask? Oh, the one we learned from symcotraining. They have about 6 or 7 ones. Which one did you use? Okay. Oh, by the way, we have so many because there's so many different types of sales people and there's so many different types of customers. Yesterday, I talked about 2 completely different trial close questions on 2 completely different salespeople in the same dealership. I was in an Audi dealership. Okay. One salesperson there was very analytical. Okay. And we gave him a very analytical approach. Another salesperson there was the puppy dog for the people who've been through our training. Okay. And we gave them a very personality-based one. Okay. So you got to get the right technique for your salesperson. Again, managers. Some of you will say, this is what I want you to do all the time because it worked for me. You're right. It worked for you because that was your style. But bear in mind, there's 4 different types of salespeople out there. You've got to get the right technique for your person. That's why at Symco, we don't have an off-the-shelf training program. These are the words you use, okay? We actually mold it to the actual salesperson who's there. That gives you the results. Guys, that's number 1. Do your salespeople know how to deal with the customer's first contact? Do your salespeople know how to engage with that digital inquiry and get them from a digital inquiry to a phone where they can build rapport? When they actually get on the phone, how effective are they in making that appointment? Listen, maybe you guys need the customer's first contact course that we do at symcotraining. Speak to us about how it might help get your team to the next level. What do you think's number 2? Yeah, you guessed it. Okay. Just not asking for the business. Okay. And again, salespeople think they have asked for the business. Yesterday, a salesperson put the 4 square in front of me. Okay. Got to the closing question. Okay. When they're going to ask for the business. And they just turn around and say, so what do you think? Was it think or how do you feel? Or how's that sound? Doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. So what do you think? If you say, what do you think? What's the last word you left in the customer's head? Yeah, think. And the customer's going to say, hey, listen, I think I need to think about it. Okay. It's just, it's not a closing question at all. Now, again, there's so many closing questions, but what we need to do is we need to ask for the business at the end. That's where we go back to trial close question. I think some salespeople haven't asked the trial close question. And when it comes to the closing question, it's almost too harsh. And also the closing question, I want you to remember, the purpose of a closing question is not to close the sale. The purpose of the closing question, I believe, is to uncover the objection you know you're going to get. And you close the sale by overcoming that objection. Okay. So this actually, again, comes from the airline industry. Okay. I fly Daft little planes. Okay. And Daft little planes, the engines are really, really reliable. Okay. My plane's got a 3.3 litre engine, but only produces 120 brake horsepower. As you imagine, it's just, there's no stress on that engine because we don't want it to stop. Okay. And that's what was killing people. Because light aircraft engines are so rare, failures are so rare, people were panicking, saying, what's happening here? They'd slow the plane down too much. There wouldn't be enough airflow over the wing, and the wing would stall. The aircraft would spin into the ground, killing themselves and their passengers. Okay. And the purpose of this closing question, I'm going to tie it back into it there. My son, he was actually almost taught differently. I quite like the way he was taught. I've been flying for, I don't know, 26 years, something like that now. And they've told him, when you're taking the plane off, this engine is going to fail. And your job is to work out what to do with it when it does fail. If it doesn't fail, take it as a bonus. I thought, yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's quite funny. James has taken off now. He talks to himself, okay? Okay, I'll put it back at the end of the runway. I'll put it on the high tension wires on the other side. I'll put it over there. It's only at cruising altitude. Does he relax? Now, heaven forbid, I hope he never has an engine failure. But if he does, actually, they'll know exactly what to do. It was in the movie Sully, okay, with the guy who landed on the Hudson. I was very fortunate to hear him speak live at an event there, and amazing what he's achieved. So this is no disrespect at all. But they talk about in the movie, if he had to turn back straight away, I think there was something like 3 airfields he could have got to. But of course, in the movie, they said, hey, we need to give you a bit of reaction time. I think it was 30 seconds or maybe a minute reaction time or something like that there. And when they gave him that extra reaction time, he couldn't do it. So I don't know if the changing has happened after that. Maybe it has, or the training has changed after that. But actually, then I thought, that's what we're going to do with the closing question. Too many times I'd get a salesperson say, should I secure that for you? Hey, did you want to do that over the 36 months? Or is it more comfortable for you over the 48? And expecting customers to say, yes, please. No, over the 48. Okay. But in the real world, vast majority of the time we get people saying, well, no, I want to think about it. Well, hold on, that's not enough money for my car. Well, I got a lot of better price down the road. Okay. Well, that's 790 a month. That's far too much. Okay. And you get the objection. Now, because we get objection most of the time, I think there's some salespeople then don't ask the closing question because they know they're going to get rejection. Don't we as humans hate rejection? Of course. Okay, listen, think back to your single days. Okay, I met Emma when I was in a dealership. She was the business manager. I was the sales manager there. It was time for the first date. It's a scary moment. I remember saying, so Emma, do you think maybe on Friday after work you might want to go for a drink, or we could just go for a movie, or because you almost hedge the bets because we don't want that rejection. And it's all or we'd like to go watch a movie, or the or is giving them an out. And salespeople do the same thing. Okay, they give the customer the out at the closing section because they don't want the rejection. Guys, you've got to train your people to get used to rejection. The purpose of a closing question is to get that objection out in the open. And if you close it, just take it as a bonus. Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, you want to close it the first time around. Okay. But that's number two. People asking the business. Now, they think they have, and they use the word. So what do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? How do you feel about that? Okay. So what are your thoughts? Okay. That's number two. Okay. Any ideas what the third thing that happens all the time? This might shock you. It's actually the demonstration drive. And this might happen after COVID, okay? But the demonstration drive there, salespeople are either told, you go drive first. So they drive about 3 meters out of the dealership and let the customer take over from there, okay? Or, okay, they just let the customer drive by themselves first and sit in the car, okay? Or the length of the demonstration drive. Listen, we've got to get back to sell the car before we sell the deal, the premises, the dealership, and all that sort of stuff there. And the demonstration drive, okay, what we're noticing is the salesperson might take it off the forecourt very quickly. The customer's driving the car and they're going on to feature dump. Here is the adaptive cruise control. This is the PDK box on it. So it's a dual clutch transmission on it. Here is the active lane departure system. This is how you switch off the speed awareness sign in the BMW. It's only one button. You've got to push for 2 seconds. And you're driving the car as a customer and the salesperson is pointing out things left, right, and center all over the place. I promise you, the customers, they're nervous to drive in the car they're not used to. They got you rabbiting on. Salespeople, please get all the selling out of the way on the car before the customer drives. And when the customer drives, we want to say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I'm just going to be quiet now and let the car sell itself. Okay. Now, if the customer starts talking to you, they're comfortable enough to get used to it. Because think it through, guys. I've been driving an automatic now for my last 3, 4, 5 cars. Okay. If I jump in a manual car on one of these sim checks, for the first 2 or 3 minutes, I'm driving it crap. Okay. I'm driving it like someone's put kangaroo petrol in it. Okay. So the demonstration, and we know the feel of the wheel seals the deal. Okay. Do bums and seats sell cars? Yes, of course they still sell cars. I think after COVID, you know what? There's lots of salespeople didn't have to go on a test drive. And I've got lots of people saying, oh no, unaccompanied test drives, they work so well in COVID. Oh, they work so well. Goodness me, they worked so well because the customer couldn't bloody get the car. There was a limited supply because the whole sales process was, hey, listen, you want a new one? It's 18 months. I've got this used one here. Okay, you can have that, but you better be quick because we've got 5 other customers want it. Yes, of course, you didn't have to do a demonstration. You could just send the customer out in the car if you wanted to. But you know what? It's becoming a push market now. I think we've got to get back into the ability to take the customer on that demonstration drive. Now, I've got to tell you, these sim checks that we do, whenever we do a sim check, we'll always get salespeople say, "Oh, I wouldn't normally do that." No, I don't normally do that. No, I don't do that because it wasn't real. It's role play. And listen, we go out of our way to make sure this doesn't feel real at all. Okay. It is not a mystery shop where they try and get the actors to make it real. Okay. What we want to do is we keep stopping it and say, no, do that again, do it again. Like in a flight simulator, they say, do a crosswind landing again, do it on one engine now. Let's do it again. Let's change the weather. They do it again and again and again. Okay. Yeah, sure. The realism is how the full motion simulator moves and all that sort of stuff there, but they actually get them to practice it again and again and again. We don't actually just want to check do they do it. We want to actually use this as a training program throughout. But when salespeople say, I wouldn't normally have done that, guys, do you know that's not true? Because when people are under pressure, we as humans, we revert to type. Okay? We revert to type. And what I mean by that is we go back to what we would normally have done. And you know what? These sim checks, they can put pressure on people, but they go back to what they've always done. And there's an analogy on this one. When I was learning to fly, I fly small, tiny little planes, okay? Microlights, okay? If you listen to this in America, I start on ultralights, okay? But there's two different types of microlights. There's one that looks like a big kite, okay? It's called a flex wing, okay? Type of microlight. That's what they call it because the wing flexes, big piece of fabric, big kite, okay? Or there's another type of microlight that just looks like a normal plane but small. That's the type that I fly. And when you're flying this, or that's what I learned on, okay? The controls are almost completely opposite on both of those. Now, what I mean by this, the one that looks like a plane, when I'm coming into land, I have to start a flare. I'll pull the stick back, pulls the nose up to help slow the plane down, kind of like I don't know, a seagull landing on the beach. You'll see how it starts to slow down, okay? The one that looks like a kite, to start slowing down to flare, they'll push the bar forward. I remember years ago when I was learning to fly, there's a lady that had a revert to type accident. She learned to fly on a plane that looked like a normal plane, and she was converting into a flex wing. Now, this lady was a firefighter. She'd done an overnight shift. She was doing a test to go on the different type of plane. So she was under pressure. Mark, the instructor, said, doing on a practice force landing, okay, starting your flare now. What she should have done is push the bar forward. She reverted to type. She pulled it back. Okay. Mark was hitting her on the back of the head. Okay. Let go with the helmet. Okay. But she would reverted to type. Okay. And pulled it forward. And the plane went into the ground and flipped over. I don't know how many times. Mark was spat out. She was spat out. It really wasn't a good outcome at all. But that's because she reverted to type under pressure. And let me tell you, when people are under pressure on this, they revert to type. Okay, so do me a favor. Sim checks, we'll come and do them for you if you want. Okay, it's amazing. It's an eye opener what happens. Senior managers listen to this. You know, compliance, you know, make sure that compliance happens in your business. You want to make sure that people know about demands and needs and all those sorts of things there. I've got to tell you, that's something that so often it goes out the window. And it's not just good enough to train people and say they've been through the training and we've got the documentation they've been trained. How are you inspecting to make sure they're still doing it? So a sim check is something that really does cover our bums. But it's not just used for that. It's used to get your salespeople to the next stage there. Three things I want you to look at, okay, with your people there, okay? Number one, your trial close question. Turn around and ask, okay? Hey, what trial close question have you asked, okay? Number two, okay, asking for the business. Go and have an eavesdrop in, sit on the other side of the car. You've done this before. And you'll be amazed, I think, how many times you hear salespeople saying, so what do you think? What are your thoughts? Oh, they just put the deal in front of people and shut up. And they say, oh, my boss told me to present it and just stay silent. Well, yeah, but ask the closing question first. The third one, go back and inspect what you expect on that demonstration drive. Why don't you just take yourself through and say, hey, take me for a demo drive in this car. It might shock you what you're actually finding, because there's one thing you're not seeing day to day in the dealerships. Guys, that about does it for now. I just thought I want to share with you some of the insight that we're learning from these sim checks, and I'll see you next time. That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, symcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.